the way I'd been relating to music as a way to define myself and find an identity and maybe even distinguish myself from others was in fact an illusion and was not real. And realizing this is I think pretty good. I mean, it's not bad. It's not a nihilistic thing. It's sort of freeing, The idea that things are changing is, that I used to, bands used to dress like this and sound like this, and when I was a kid, I listened to this. That even that is sort of like disappearing because it seems like, the record store has the Kinks compilation right next to the Don Caballero CD. It's a fast-paced world, and that everything's changing so fast that, but actually there's a certain real permanence to things as well, and that, all that music, you can actually go see a cover band playing Kiss songs, probably more real than Kiss themselves could play their own songs at one point. There's a certain peace to that, and that in fact, the differences that you imagined within everything, that there was rock and roll, and that there was cool, and that there was maybe even underground. Suddenly I can relate to like 16-year-olds who live in small towns or the suburbs, the way I at one point actually couldn't when I was 16, and around those kids, and sort of had to sort of escape into my own life. And now they all go to Green Day concerts or whatever they listen to now, and we're friends. I can talk to the cab driver from Ghana about juju music, and he can talk to me about Michael Jackson, and we can understand each other. I can go to the hip-hop producer's studio in Crown Heights in the ghetto, and I can play guitar, and he understands it, and he can sell crack cocaine in between pressing the record button and pressing the stop button, and I understand it. And my mother and I can listen to Arvo Pärt together and both understand it. Rush Limbaugh can play blaring rock and roll on his show, and I understand it. And he can have me on someday, and I can make references to the Sex Pistols, and he'd understand it. Realizing this and accepting that it's okay has been a big moment in my life.
I think I was in Bleecker Bob's, and I saw New Day Rising by Husker Du. And I didn't have any SST records, and there was just something about that cover with the dogs on the beach and that weird reverse sky that drew me in, and I just remember standing there staring at it, trying to figure out what it was. And I took it home, and I just remember sitting there and playing it again and again, and just getting drawn in. Just the afternoon, home alone. I don't think my sister was there yet. I don't know where she was at, but just sitting at the family stereo and just side one, side two, side one again. Just sat there all afternoon. I never really will forget the sound of those tinny little drums starting off New Day Rising, and then that huge wall of guitars that comes in after that. They're pop songs, they're such beautiful pop songs, but they are wrapped inside this kind of ball of tension and confusion, and those hundreds of guitars layered on top of each other. You kind of had to dig a little harder to kind of get the melody and the beauty out of the records, and it kind of made it all the more worth it, I think, sometimes once you found it. They didn't care at all what they looked like, They didn't care about being up on stage and, you know, creating any type of image for you. It was just like the pure power of, you know, their music. The whole attitude of those bands and that movement, just really kind of no frills, just seemed like regular people that you knew every day, making this intense, powerful music. Really, really moved me, and still does.
小さい頃からずっとエレクトーンを習っていたんですけど、それとは別に好きな音楽としてエリック・サティのようなピアノの曲を聴いていて、エレクトーンの曲っていうのはすごく装飾されてるっていうか豪華で、アレンジがねすごくアレンジされていて、そういうのが肌に合わなくて、逆にそういうサティナなものに惹かれていたっていうのがあったと思うんですけど、サティの曲をピアノで弾きたいなぐらいな感覚で弾いていたんですけど、なかなか上手に弾けなくて、だんだんそれが上手に弾けなくて、自己流になっていくっていうか、自分でルールを作ったりとか、自分なりに弾くことが楽しいっていう、それがすごく自分の中では大きな発見で、その自分で弾いたものも音楽だっていう発見をしたのがすごく自分の中では大きかった。20歳過ぎの頃、たまたまニューヨークに来て、サム・リバースのライブをたまたま見に行ったんですけれども、その時にジャズのライブだと思って見に行ったんですが、いろいろクラシックのようでもあり、もっとすごく単純なメロディーだったり、逆にすごく狂ったようなメロディーを引き出したり、自分たちのルールを作ってそれを楽しんでるっていう、なんか遊びなんか小さい子が遊びのゲーム、なんかこういう遊びを自分たちで考えて、それにのっとってなんか自由に遊んでいくみたいな、そのやつを見た時に自分が自分の発見した音楽とすごく近いっていうか、自由な発想で弾いているっていうのがすごく近い気がして、それがすごく嬉しかった。
Like she had said in a Rolling Stone interview that she wasn't a virgin, and I was like, wow. I want to get a cigarette. Well, I've seen like Alice Cooper 3 times live, and he's amazing. And he I remember being struck by just seeing everybody filing out of his shows just drenched in blood. So it was good times. And I saw Wendy Williams and, oh God, I have to tell this story. When I was like maybe 10 or 8 or 9 or something like that, I fell in love with this song on the radio by the Manhattans called Kiss and Say Goodbye. We used to spend the summers with my dad in San Antonio. This is where I heard it on the radio, and I found out that they were coming to San Antonio and they were going to play at the Joe Freeman Coliseum there. And I was so young, and they were hyping it on the radio, and I was like, Daddy, I gotta go. And he's all, no, I'm not taking you to a concert, no way. I finally badgered him enough to where he let us, he agreed to drop me off with I couldn't go alone. I had to bring my sister, and we ended up bringing 2 other little girls also, but I was the oldest one, and I was maybe 10 or 9. it turned out like we were the only white people in the audience. Not just to mention that we were alone, you know, 4 little girls. But it was a nice place. I mean, it was seated, and the show was awesome. Loved it, except like right in the middle of the show, somebody pulled a gun, and everybody dropped down to the floor, and we were all, "What's going on?" And we dropped to the floor too, but we were like, cool, somebody pulled a gun. And they, you know, they got the guy, and they, you know, the show went on and everything. But afterwards, like, my dad picked us back up again. We were like, it was really neat, somebody pulled a gun during the show. And he's just like, oh my God, I can't believe I let them go. But, and I'm sure those other girls went home and told their parents, and that was real good times. That introduced me to how exciting like live music can be, and that you just really never know. You can't, it's not like a record. It's gonna be different every time, and surprising things can happen.
Oh, but I think I did tell you a story that you seemed to like about Charlie Parker. Yeah, he was an astounding person, a perfect gentleman, a great, great, great horn player, of course. And when the first time I played with him at the Persian, he was so magnificent. And he wasn't even playing well on the microphone. He just come out of the back room and stood up on the stage and started playing. I was so amazed that he could fill up that great big place. That place was a half a block long and very wide. And I was walking behind him to see if he was wired or something. But at that time, the wires hadn't come out. You know, they wasn't wiring saxophones in that day. And of course, I've been in awe of him ever since, that he could fill up that room like that with that great, great, great sound and still not grain on you, you know. That's the thing I remember most about him, that he could play all those ideas and be so soothing, playing so loudly. So I really recall that about Charlie Parker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you ready? Okay, got it.
Music. The first music I heard was when my mother and my grandmother would play me the jazz greats, the late great jazz greats who have passed on, like Duke Ellington, Cole Satchmo Porter, Branford Marsalis. And at an early age I would hear it and realize that music comes from within, and musical instruments can come forth through your body. So my mother would say, well, why can't you do the trumpet or the piano or the drums on your body? You couldn't afford the instruments. So I did right away. I realized it's sort of, I could do something like bass. Boom. I could do drums. I could do cowbell. And these instruments and these instrumentations sort of brought me closer to what the spirit of music is about. And that was about song keys and what keys songs were in. So, what, for example, what's your favorite song in the whole world?
I don't know. I heard Heartbreaker last night by Led Zeppelin.
And that did it for you. Heartbreaker. It's a good song. It's from a rock band. And what key is that song in?
I couldn't tell.
You don't know? It's in A. And it astounds me that people have favorite songs, but they don't know what key they're in. And the same thing goes for tempo. So if you look at tempo, let's think of a beat. Let's think of this. Let's do quarter notes. Can you snap with me? You're speeding up. And that's what music has taught me, is that a lot of people don't know anything about music. One thing that affected me was this tune right here. These are professionals, professional musicians.
So what do you think about like the Thrill Jockey, the Thrill Jockey catalog? Are you familiar with Thrill Jockey Records?
Record labels need to educate themselves on what is music and what is not music. These labels that you speak of, they walk the walk, but they don't talk the walk. Do you know what I mean by that? They think it's important to put out what they consider to be music without educating themselves and children as to what music is. On their liner notes, is there anything about the late, great jazz greats? No. Do they tell you what key songs are in? No. The tempos are all over the place. It's not quite music, but I appreciate it. Bettina's a talented woman. She's talented. She's smart. She's a smart woman. Can she do this? Bop. Can she do this? Bop. Can she do this? Bop. Ba da ba 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 da ba. Boo bop. Boop bop boo bop boop boo bop boop boo bop. No, she can't. That's okay. Bettina, keep in mind that music is inside you, not on the outside. Create, sing. The orchestra is in your hands, in your feet. Dance, play.
I went to a Rolling Stones concert. I had to skip school to go to a Rolling Stones concert. I was waiting in front of the Kingdom to get in for all day long, and ended up to get in line. And there's a TV crew filming the concert footage in the line. You know, we were drinking and stuff, and my parents were sitting at home at the dinner table, and they saw me. That was pretty funny. So there I am on TV, like skipped school all day. Got to see Killer Rolling Stones concert. I don't know, what else?
That was good. That's good.
See, no one's gonna click on my name is what's so good on this CD-ROM. They'll be like, Millicent Soares. So this story is like the little Easter egg on your DVD. Like if you're smart enough or something to come to my name, this is the story that you get about Bettina Richards. It was a mild New Year's Eve for the year 2000. Who was playing? It was Trans Am and Golden and the Skeeter Pete and the Sullivan Mountain Boys at the Empty Bottle. Thankfully, it was not terribly sold out. I mean, that show was great. That was everything you needed to ring in the millennium. And I was hanging out with Bettina, and I don't know, they were, you know, it doesn't sound good when you don't have beer in you, but like they were rocking. And I was like, you should throw your underwear on the stage at them, like, you know, like swooning fans. And she's like, I'm wearing good underwear tonight. And so she took off her black underwear and threw it on the stage. And apparently now it's in the Trans Am rehearsal space, and they don't know. I think they'd be horrified if they knew it was Bettina's underwear, since they're on her label. I don't think they can put together the like Bettina's underwear and why are you touring so much? Or like, this cover art is awful. Or, you know, I don't think they can put the voice and the underwear together. But now, this is True Tales, Max X, Cops, all of it all together. That's Phil, Nathan, Sebastian. That's Bettina's underwear in your rehearsal space. Stop wearing it on your heads. song.